This would be a good time for you to be quiet. I know that's nearly impossible for you, but if I hear the sound of your voice right now, I can't be responsible for my actions. So this would be a very good time for you to shut up!
What's up, Fantasy Champions? Spotlight Sports Network is excited to tell you about an amazing deal from Thrive Fantasy, your place for daily fantasy sports and esports. Right now with promo code SS Network, Thrive Fantasy will match up to $50 of your first deposit. So go to thrivefantasy.com and sign up now with promo code SS Network. That's thrivefantasy.com, promo code SS Network. Do you like the Oakland A's? Are you a fan of the Golden Knights? Do you love the Los Angeles Chargers? Well then, my friend, you're in the right place. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show with your host, Jake the Snake SIlva, brought to you by the Spotlight Sports Network.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. We are live on a Monday in the late afternoon. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening. We are live on all social media platforms. We're on the grid, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and also you can like me and follow me on Instagram. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for all latest notifications on all future and past shows. As we are on the road to 400 subscribers. We're at 388 so far, and we are pushing to get to 400. And, of course, as a network, pushing to at least get to 1,000. I'm great that all of you guys are here today. So much to really talk about. I mean, my God, this weekend was focused on nothing but the NFL. But before I get into it, we had some news that broke out into the Spotlight Sports Network, and all we ask of to all of our faithful fans, viewers, listeners, and everybody out there. So we got news this morning, and Darian Hopkins, one of our great minds of the Spotlight Sports Network, the mastermind behind it from 2016, and also is one of the sole owners of his YouTube channel, the Spotlight Raiders Talk. Great colleague to work with, and is someone that I have definitely, I for one am very grateful to be a part of this network. But there was an incident where Darian had been in contact with the virus and has got COVID-19. The good news about all of this is he is in the hospital getting exactly the fair treatment that he needs, everything that he needs to keep himself healthy and strong and just manage through this obstacle. It's really been it's unexplainable because it's such a new thing, and a lot of people have no idea really just to eliminate this virus. It's not that easy. But I encourage to a lot of people. I don't talk about this often, whether vaccinated or unvaccinated, whatever the case may be. We know that this is not an easy virus to really wipe out the map. There have been a lot of different challenges. There have been a lot of different alternatives, and so much more and beyond. I myself, and I don't release this at all in my personal life, but I myself did get vaccinated, and I've only gone through the first dose waiting for the second. And that was a personal choice of my own. And all it really is just trying to be ahead of the curve and trying to do the absolute best to stay healthy. But as our founder and, of course, one of our top dogs of this network is down, he's not out. Not completely out. Not out of the fight. So we hope and pray for speedy recovery for Darian and hope that things get back to himself to normal and gets 110% healthy, and hopefully to be back on to the live stream shows, and of course so much more for all of you diehard Raider fans out there and even Spotlight Sports Network fans all around. We really do appreciate your guys' love and support, and we hope that you guys continue to send us thoughts and prayers to our good friend Darian. So I want to start out with this here on the show today. So we've had a lot of really good preseason games in the NFL this weekend. And I was excited for the NFL to officially be back. There's been a lot of different headlines. There have been a lot of different, there's just been a lot of different challenges all within the NFL. And I was very excited with how things panned out. So, of course, the focus that I'm talking about are all of the top tier, the top drafted quarterbacks. So we saw a lot of them, and we'll break them down bit by bit. As I've said before, 5 quarterbacks drafted in the top rounds, only one is a for sure. Only one is for sure that is not going to cut it in this league. But you know what? I saw a gist of everything that they were selling. It's almost like you almost look at certain car salesmen, if not realtors, especially here in Vegas and with the housing market. You see a lot of them, and then you see how they pitch things because there are a lot of different advertisements. The best types of advertisements are the ones that you could hear it and see it. It's a guaranteed deal. Like it's guaranteed, like they are selling you on a product that is going to change your life, that is only going to change for the better and for the future. So every single one of these quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, he had a couple of times where he was kind of roughed up in the pocket. But Jacksonville's only going to get better in the next couple of years. This is all part of Urban Meyer's process. And I thought Trevor Lawrence had a couple of real good throws. I mean, he's the guy that we all waited to see and to see how he would perform in the NFL level. Well, we finally get that gist. And I thought he was terrific. I thought he made a lot of really good throws. I also thought that his poise, and not even to mention just basically how he approached everything when it came to just challenges within the pocket, and then not to mention some pressurous situations. I thought Trevor Lawrence was great. Let's move on to the next one, because right now, Chicago fans, they are very excited about this one. And you know what? I look at Justin Fields, and I just see a lot of really good positive upsides. 2 touchdowns that preseason. And the way he controlled and poised the game is something Chicago fans are going to be excited about. But we cannot be quick to rush this. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get better as time rolls on. You can't rush a project without even being completely built and functional. I work in a company that all throughout the tiers, you have got to have the right people on each tiers, especially when it comes to building pools. When you build it, you got to make sure the plumbing's right. You got to make sure that everything is functional and everything will circulate right, because then that's when comes the service. That is chemical balances and further and beyond. But it all starts within the project. That's what this whole Justin Fields thing is in Chicago. It's a process. You draft the kid, you teach the kid, build him and groom him, because by the time he's ready, this is always with rookie quarterbacks, weeks 6 through 8 is when those kids will be ready. They've learned the playbook, they've studied it, they've mastered it, and now they're ready to take on first team snaps. So I thought Justin Fields was great. I thought he was really, really good. I think he is exactly what Chicago has finally found after all these years out of all these butchered quarterbacks. And we know how much that Matt Nagy, his job may be on the line, because the only reason is let's see how he takes a transformative talent like Justin Fields and how far will Chicago get. Because, of course, they're trying to make up for a lot of things over the past few years. How about Mac Jones in New England? Thank you so much, Beantown, for reminding me, my good friend Bobby. My thoughts on Mac Jones is this. Unlike all the quarterbacks in this league, Mac Jones has one of the best coaches in the league. He's got a system and he's got a structure. And so every single play I've watched Mac Jones do was all textbook. It was all what was written. Isn't this what's funny about Bill Belichick's system? He goes everything by textbook, execution. Tom is the only player who over the years knew how to make the project work, knew exactly what to do in pressured situations. He knew how to do that. Other quarterbacks when he was injured, Matt Castle, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett, Cam Newton, and now here we are with Mac Jones. Every single one of them has a different plan and a system. All of them are the same. Execution. And it's very good, quick release. I was very surprised of how Mac Jones was. I can't throw in all my full chips on the table just yet, only because I've seen a lot of things with Alabama quarterbacks. I still have some questions, but this is the perfect opportunity to make adjustments and make changes. Mac Jones is going to have a really good career in New England. After I watched that and then watching a couple more preseason games, I'm kind of excited to see what New England does with him. He's not going to be a Tom Brady. That is not what they're looking for. They are looking for someone to get him over the hump, to be either 9-8, 10-7, lucky to be even 11-6. And that's what New England is looking for, is consistency through the years. They know they won't find another Tom, but all they're going to find is a successor who's smart, learns the system, has good quick release, and executes. And I think Mac Jones fills all the boxes. Well, what about Trey Lance in San Francisco? You know what's funny about this? Trey Lance, you could tell right off the bat, his talent's raw. Kid out of North Dakota State. Well, by the way, they're on the map. I was actually on an interview with Jay in the Bay, which you could check out here on the Spotlight Sports Network. Great colleague to work with. Loves the 49ers. And we both agreed on the same things. Natural raw talent. North Dakota State is definitely on the map of producing really good quarterbacks in the last 4 years. Carson Wentz, Easton Stick, and Trey Lance. Trey Lance is the future of the 49ers. There's no question about that. But we should not rush this process either. Much like Chicago with Justin Fields, it's the same thing with San Francisco. Because even though Kyle Shanahan has a system, you don't want to rush this project too easily or too fast. The reason of that is because he still has natural raw talent that he's got to adjust and master. That's all he has to do. He's got a great throwing arm. He's also somebody that's mobile, but I think at times kind of gets a little flashy. But I'm sure that that's going to come with adjustments down the road. But you got a really good offensive line. You got really good offensive weapons, and you got a support system in your defense. So I think Trey Lance, after what I've seen, needs a couple of adjustments, but he's on the right track. And finally, the man of the hour himself, Zach Wilson in New York. You know, and it's kind of interesting. It was such an interesting take on Zach Wilson. But I will tell you this, and I did discuss it. Didn't you see all the pressure on Zach Wilson? I certainly did. Regardless if it was New York's defense, okay, the Giants, you do realize that they're only going to face each other at least once a year. If that. The point I'm trying to make is that a lot of that pressure Zach Wilson can feel, because it's not just for preseason. But think of the division you're in. Buffalo, Miami, New England twice a year. All three of them have very tough defenses. Zach Wilson's going to have his hands full. You won't notice that against the Giants, because the Giants have only one thing. They're trying to go all in on their squad, knowing that you've got Philadelphia, who's trying to fix their mess, the Cowboys, and then you got the Washington football team. So they have different priorities. The last thing they want is just this. But Zach Wilson, I do think, has an upside, but has to stay consistent with that upside. Otherwise, as I said, could be a kid with all the pressure on his shoulders. He's got a really good throwing arm, and I think is also one that really does execute certain plays. It's not going to be easy in a division where you have all three of the best defenses twice a year. And then not to mention, you got the rest of the league where even some of those defenses are getting better. They're getting stronger. They're getting faster and healthier. It's not going to be an easy road, so don't take it lightly. That's the only thing I could really say for Zach Wilson. But I thought a lot of the quarterbacks, a lot of the rookie quarterbacks were showing you what they were selling to you. Trevor Lawrence is telling you, well, he's selling his stock of he's a transformative quarter, like he's a generational type talent with a great throwing arm, great precision, and is a guy that's very accurate with his passes. But he also does have great field vision. Justin Fields is a guy that shows you toughness and grit, a guy that throws really good, accurate passes, and I think is also one that's going to do whatever it takes to win football games. Mac Jones masters the system. Quick release throws, is also a guy that's very coachable, smart, is a guy that doesn't want to make mistakes. He's much like a Tua, only except he's healthier. And then you have Trey Lance, who's raw, who has a really good throwing arm. He's got a really good systematic coach in Kyle Shanahan, and he's got a really good offensive system. And only needs a few adjustments. And Zach Wilson, I mean, he's a guy that, however the journey road goes for him, you're hoping it's an uphill. It's uphill. It's tough when you've got a rookie coach in Robert Saleh. But you know what's the one thing, and I heard about this morning. The one thing that's going to give Zach Wilson a break is that tough D-line of the Jets. And believe me when I say this, I watched them several times last year. That D-line is actually really good. It's one that could cause a lot of problems for different teams, depending on the situations. But I really do think that Zach Wilson, that's going to be his biggest support of all this year, where he doesn't have to go into blowout battles and just throw deep balls all day long. He won't have to do that. He'd only have to execute, evaluate everything on the field, and at the same time, make no mistakes. That's all that would need to be done. It may not be that easy with a rookie coach and then a completely different play style, but it's not to say it's not doable. But a lot of these quarterbacks, you could tell, they are selling you on the possibilities of what they can be in this league. And I think we all got a taste. We all got you look at samples at Costco. Each and every single one of us went to table and we took a sample and we tried it. And then who knows what in the end, what will be the outcome by the end of the year. And that's where we make our most, I'd say, one of our strongest, not criticisms, but our strongest opinions by the way the year finishes. And that's where I'm excited for what this new season's going to bring. All right, I'm going to shift over to this because I really do think that this should be pointed a lot more. So last week on Thursday, I think all of us, including myself, witnessed probably one of the greatest creations we had ever seen in the sports world. And I will tell you this. I have been a fan since I was in diapers. I played the game. I've learned the game. I've also grown up with the game. I've learned about life through the game. And I thought Thursday was an absolute victory. Major League Baseball could not have pulled this off any better than any other sport that we have in our lives. So Thursday was the Field of Dreams game. And I'll tell you this. I mean, there was nothing like it. And what was so interesting about just how this game even escalated. You know, and a lot of it was just all from some of the best, especially when it comes to productions. It was just all from the best of the best. And I, for one, as a fan, I can't begin to tell you how many tears I've shed just by watching that game alone. I mean, you cannot tell me that you didn't shed a tear when all of this was going on. I mean, I watched this thing from beginning to end. The beauty behind what baseball does is what makes it so unique. I mean, the intro to starting it, Kevin Costner coming out of the cornfields, and then the beauty of the field. Major League Baseball, Fox Sports, and a lot of big-time producers did such a fabulous job with this. And it makes you wonder, like, why we don't do this more often. And I don't understand why. And baseball, it's always been a traditional sport. And it's always been that way. The problem of it is that we all buck heads because we don't want the sport to change. We don't want the sport to evolve and grow like it should. We're not saying that we're changing the tradition of the game that has lasted for over 150 years. We're trying to make the tradition better. Think about how magical this was. This was the most watched game in sports and in the baseball world for the first time in 16 years. Like, that should tell you something. And baseball's been so unique with the beauty of its history, its traditions, and just you pull a lot of things out of the history books and so much more that you reminisce all of it. And I thought Thursday night was a prime example of what baseball should be. I seriously thought that was what it should be. The uniforms, the field, the intensity of the game is what honestly teaches you something. That's why I've always referred to baseball as life. Because every scenario you go through in a situation, in an inning, and whether you're on the bump, and no matter what pitch it is, what count, there's always something that pops up. And you got to make an adjustment. Major League Baseball couldn't have scripted this better from beginning to end. From the intro and to how everything ended. And it only makes me think of one thing. And because of how cranky that a lot of these traditional baseball fans are, is what pisses me off the most. Because I really, truly think baseball could be better. Baseball can be better. We should not be constantly changing the rules. We shouldn't be constantly, we shouldn't be constantly having to do this or that or whatnot. Because there is no perfect way of playing the game. There is no right way of doing it. And you know that no matter what, the game of baseball will always be the same. And here's where I thought this is kind of interesting. Because it seemed like after watching that game, it's flirting with the idea of maybe potentially Major League Baseball making a Sandlot field. Because we all watched the film Sandlot, right? I think there may have been some who have, some who haven't. But I thought Sandlot's an absolute classic itself, too. I mean, this movie was about 30 years old. But everything about this, you could not script it better. I mean, I shed a tear. I was happy. I was excited. This is what baseball should be pushing. And listen, Major League Baseball, I know you're not the NFL, you're not the NBA, and you're certainly not the NHL. But who cares? Because let me just tell you what each of those sports differ from baseball. Like, first of all, NFL has history. We know this. But history in itself does not go way back than what Major League Baseball does. Seriously. They're only 50 years behind. And baseball, they have such a long list of traditions and, of course, a long history that's gone all the way back. And that's the one thing that we've always appreciated for such a long time. But the thing of it is that you're not chasing for viewers. And here's the thing, you are going to get viewers one way or the other. Just don't push it. Because all it's doing is it's doing nothing, but it's making you try way too hard on all of this. We know you're not going to get the ratings of the NFL because the NFL is king its prime. NFL always has prime time games. The NBA, what's different about it is that it's a star-driven league. We know this. Baseball has its stars, but they don't rely on the stars for so many things. The one thing I think baseball really should go back to is whatever happened to the managers taking control of the lineups. They've lost total control. Everything is all made by the general managers and everybody in the front office. That's it. Whatever happened to the managers having total control when it came to situational baseball? I used to love that, and I miss that. I seriously think they should bring that back. But why not create more events like this? The NFL, they only have 2 locations, Mexico and London. Those are the specialty games, and they have them at perfect times before Thanksgiving, if not after. Major League Baseball, you only had like one event, which was the Little League World Series field in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. That was the only time. Why not do an event while you're out in Omaha? Why not do an event like this in Dyersville, Iowa? Why not even do something that's like the field you make in the Sandlot? Promote more. Because last night, you could not, and I guarantee you could not have come up with a finish like this that you witnessed last night. Because I, for one, I could not believe how this seriously ended.
This was super close to being caught. But a rocket. Anderson hits it in the air to right. Back at the wall, and the White Sox win it.
Do you understand now? Do you understand why that even when it comes to traditions, why baseball is just such a bittersweet sport? It's moments like that where it's simple, it's small. I don't care about how long it takes because it's not a rushing game. I don't care if you're pushing for a lot of people come out to the ballparks all the time. I go to Aviator games at any point, and I love the smell of just the outside weather, the field, how beautiful it looks, and then the players getting together for a great game, and the fans cheering on. They're all enjoying the moment. The kids, they got a story to tell. That game Thursday night was an absolute win for Major League Baseball. It's only teaching you one thing: promote more, get more events out there, and that's it. Stop trying to, control bits and pieces of this game because it never works. Okay, the NFL makes a lot of adjustments all the time, but you have to think about the status quo the NFL has. The NBA changes a lot of things, but sometimes NBA is not perfect. In the NHL, there was a lot of different changes. Even that's not perfect. Baseball, all you're trying to do is you're just trying to make the tradition better. So stop it with this, stop it with this nonsense where it's a back and forth dog fight. Stop being tone deaf, because that's not what this game has always been about. The game has all been about fun. It's all about learning the game. It's all about learning life within the game, because it teaches you a thing or two. If you want leadership, baseball is one of them. If you want, alpha size or, any of that, the NFL's key. We know that there are a lot of leaders in the NFL, but a lot of them are a lot of alpha dogs. The NBA, you want to be flashy. You want to be, the cool and, have shoe endorsements deals. The NBA is all about it. If you want to be skillful and you want to be somebody that really can be just a beacon of hope for any team, hockey's like that. But baseball teaches you about being a leader in the game, but also being the leader of your life. And there is no grand sport that is better in that category than baseball itself. Coming up next. So, of course, a lot of people are kind of questioning about, this Aaron Rodgers deal. But you know what? I have one question. Are any of us feeling the love in the air in Green Bay yet? I'll explain why coming up next. And then I've got my NFL division predictions again. And we're going down south in the NFC. So I'll be predicting the NFC South for you guys as well. That's all coming up next. All right. So all of our fantasy sport guys, coast to coast, far and wide, so many of you. I'm sure there's even women that play fantasy sports too. I don't know. But there are a lot of you out there. If you guys are looking for fantasy fun, winning cold hard cash, and so much more, with pool plays that are reloaded every week. And also because we're getting ready for the NFL, we got pool plays that you could be winning up to $100,000 each week. It's the best new thing. And there's one website to do that. It's called Thrive Fantasy. You can also look it up on your mobile device through Google Play in the App Store and download it. Sign yourself up, get yourself in the game. $20 deposit. But before you start to play, use promo code SS Network when you sign up and you put in your $20 deposit, and Thrive Fantasy promises that they will match it to $50 into your first play. A little extra cash right in there. A little thank you from Thrive Fantasy from joining. So if you guys want to win cold hard cash and want to have all the fun, go to thrivefantasy.com, promo code SS Network. That's thrivefantasy.com, promo code SS Network.
Welcome to to the My City, My Game pod show featuring Raider J77, your place for all things Raiders and all things Trailblazers. Brought to you by the Spotlight Sports Network. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Now let's go.
But I know that's just in my mind. I know everything is just in my mind. Do you really want to be famous? Do you really want to be a superstar? Do you really want to get dangerous? Do you even know where the groupies are? Bitches out here be-
Welcome to Hammer's House.
Once a Raider, bruh, always a Raider, bruh. Shit simple as that. You look silver and black. Lot of bread invested in that O-line. Car insurance cost the arm and the leg to reach that goal line. It's go time.
Do you like the Oakland A's? Are you a fan of the Golden Knights? Do you love the Los Angeles Chargers? Well then, my friend, you're in the right place. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show with your host, Jake the Snake SIlva, brought to you by the Spotlight Sports Network.
Of course, for everybody, if you're trying to rep up for your favorite show on the network and, of course, getting yourself geared up because we know it's going to be close to the end of summer and we're getting ready for fall season. So that means hoodie season's coming around the corner. You guys love hoodies, t-shirts, hats, and so much more. Go on to SpotlightSportsNetwork.com and also get yourself geared up on the merchandise section powered by Spreadshirt. You guys do not want to end up missing all of the best offers that we've got throughout the month. So, this really got me to thinking this week. And you know what? I love it when people just kind of rant and rave about all this stuff. Like, about basically saying, because a lot of people aren't really ready for change. It happens all the time. We get through to that at any point in time in our lives. Sometimes it's not easy to go through change. But the Green Bay Packers, okay, we already know the absolute months of clusters because Aaron Rodgers is just a personal guy. His personality is different. And it's so interesting. It's weird just kind of how this whole relationship is in this organization. But I'll tell you something. I watched a lot of highlights of one person in particular, Jordan Love. And people have gone back and forth with me. Jordan Love's not ready. Jordan Love's not ready. I don't know why we traded up to get a quarterback. Well, first and foremost, there was a reason why Green Bay traded up to get a quarterback in the first place. Because Aaron Rodgers is only 37, going to be 38. And there's only so much time left that you have with Aaron that you have no time to getting, to sticking with him. And then you can't draft at least a raw talented quarterback after all of that is said and done. I mean, Jordan Love didn't even look that bad in Green Bay. I don't understand why people have been freaking out about this whole process. And then people want to sugarcoat saying, well, he didn't really look good in practice and all. But looking at preseason, mind you, We're coming off of a year where there was no practice. There was no OTAs thanks to COVID. After watching this, I think a little different. And I see I just kind of see I just kind of see something a little bit brewing up in Green Bay. Now, of course, they're not going to change. They are not going to change, the way that the game itself, or just the way that the whole entire status quo is going to be. They're not going to do that. And I think it's interesting. And what's kind of unique is that even though that you have this scenario and situation in Green Bay, it's not changing a thing about how they feel about Aaron Rodgers. But what you are getting a gist of is that you're getting a gist of what you really can see in Jordan Love. And I'm not saying that he's going to take over the position very easily, but you have to think about the process Aaron Rodgers was in. It took 3 years for Aaron until Brett Favre, kind of lingered the fact of retiring. And then eventually he got, he basically got back on the map in the football world. And then in came Aaron after those 3 years. Jordan Love's kind of in the position the same similar way. History has a way of repeating itself. And a lot of people may not really lump up to that fact just yet. But I do think that in time, you're going to look back at this and you're going to see exactly what you saw in Jordan Love. And who knows, Green Bay fans might fall in love with him. I mean, that's kind of how that was, in Green Bay. That's kind of how it was. Kind of how it was with Aaron Rodgers. People loved Brett Favre, and a lot of people weren't sure about if Aaron Rodgers is ready yet. But all of that will not matter for quite some time. So, Packer fans, stop freaking out about all of this idea about, what you're going to do, what's going to happen when Aaron Rodgers is gone, all this other stuff, because we would not even be worried about this. I wouldn't even be at all concerned about it unless he shows me otherwise. But I think Jordan Love can be capable of winning games. I think can be capable of learning under Matt LaFleur's system. Matt LaFleur is not a failure. Okay? The way he wanted to make this whole thing work is he wanted to make it work where it was comfortable, not just for Aaron, but it was also comfortable for all of, basically for all the players in, on this roster. That's where I think matters the most. So in all, in all matters, I think Green Bay is going to be fine. I really do think Green Bay is going to be fine. So I truly think that at the end of this whole thing, it'll be fine. I think Green Bay is just fine where they are. I know it's not easy when it comes to change, but it's not like they're going to be horrible in the end. So stop freaking out. Stop giving away this whole, stop giving this Debbie Downer kind of thing when it comes to what's going to happen in the quarterback position. I think he's going to do just fine in this league. Time now for the hot press. All right, so it looks like the Celtics have agreed to. So the Celtics have definitely agreed to a 4-year, $77 million extension for Marcus Smart. And Marcus Smart's really developed into one of their most important elite defenders a competitor, and everything in between. He spent his entire 7-year career with the Celtics, who they drafted him 6th overall in 2014. He's averaged career highs in points, assists, blocks, and minutes with the Celtics last season. So I really do like Marcus Smart. I really do think he holds a lot of tangibles with this organization. And I truly do think that the Celtics themselves are going to be, they're going to be in a real good position. There's no doubt about that. But I also do think, because there's got to be there's going to be a lot of adjustments around. And I do think that the team themselves, they're not going to struggle, but there's a lot of cleanup they got to do. An awful lot of cleanup. But I do think that this team is going to get back up onto its feet. And I think Brad Stevens is really going to do a great job with this organization. So I'm not feeling bad for the Boston Celtics. I thought this was a smart signing. So quarterback Deshaun Watson was absent from practice again and did not practice Monday, just this afternoon. So he reported to camp on the 25th of July, and then after requesting a trade in January, practiced for the first time 5 days of training camp, but was not on the field for the next 5 days, and then returned for all 4 days of the third week of practice. So again, this whole situation with Deshaun Watson is just absolutely lingering. I know that, you know that, we all know this. So the whole idea of what's really happening with this organization and with Deshaun Watson, I just look at it this way, that if you don't pull off a trade at some point soon, I mean, you're going to lose this whole thing. And that's exactly where the Texans are. They're in that position right now. It just doesn't seem to be pretty. And I've already put in my 2 cents with this organization, and I do think that there is just a lot of different struggles. So this back and forth lingering, you already know what's happening with Deshaun Watson, so I'm not going to get any more into detail. I do think that they're going to have some type of deal in place, but he's not staying. He's not budging on it. So the New Orleans Pelicans right now are closing in on a deal that will keep Josh Hart on a 3-year, $38 million extension. And Josh Hart played his first 2 seasons with the Lakers before he was dealt to with the Anthony Davis situation. But yeah, I don't know specifically what happened, but I kind of get a gist that this is kind of the whole thing with this Deshaun Watson thing. It's been a lingering thing for a while, so I'm not at all worried about it. So Josh Hart, in the 2021 season, he averaged a career high of 8 rebounds, second to only Russell Westbrook, who only had 11.5. But his defensive rebounding percentage, which was 23.4, ranked above centers Jarrett Allen, Robert Williams, DeAndre Jordan, and JaVale McGee. So Josh Hart's really, as a 26-year-old, that's a young body. That's a guy that you could really rely on situational basketball, and is a guy that could really help out with the Pelicans down the stretch. I thought this was really, really good. But hoping that the Pelicans could keep it, because this is going to be a completely different young core. Now, they did lose Lonzo Ball. They got to work something here that's only going to make Zion better, because I think New Orleans, they could be a team that can make noise, but they've got to make all the right moves for themselves to be that way. So the Atlanta Falcons, here's a really good thing. The Atlanta Falcons believed to be the first team in the NFL to be 100% vaccinated against COVID-19. So all of the players in Atlanta did their due diligences. They went out and they went and got themselves vaccinated. And it's exciting stuff. So out of all of this, the Falcons, I mean, they're basically ready. They're ready for anything. And so, hold on a second. Like they've had constant back and forth talks about this whole thing. And the Atlanta Falcons being 100% vaccinated, again, I'm happy for them. I think this is a smart thing that they could do. And they'll be good. Okay, good. All right. I'll get my mic back up. There we go. I don't know why that they made a lot of technical difficulties, but yeah, anyway, I think I truly think that, all these players getting vaccinated and what Atlanta has done so far, it's been really, really good. So 100% vaccinated against COVID-19, can only hope for the absolute best. But I do think that this was a really good step in the right direction. But the only hope is if the rest of the NFL can get on the same page. So I think it'll be good. I think it'll be just fine. But we'll see exactly what happens in this next season and how the NFL is going to deal with it. All right, so that was your hot press. Coming up next, my best for last here on the show, I am focusing on the NFL division predictions, and this time we're heading down south to the NFC South, so you guys do not want to end up missing that prediction here on the Snake Sports Talk Show. Be back in a bit. All righty, folks. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank every single one of you guys for jumping on here with me on this show tonight. And I really do appreciate every single one of you guys sharing your thoughts and prayers for Darian and hoping for a speedy recovery through the virus and everything else, and hoping that, he gets back into his regular scheduled programming with every single one of you guys with Raiders content, and of course a lot more sports content along the way. But yeah, it's been kind of a not just a crazy day, but an interesting one for sure. I cannot lie about that. But this was really good today. This was really, really good today. I couldn't have asked for more, but I really do appreciate every single one of your guys' love and support. If you could ask Darius Philon one question, what would it be? I mean, my biggest thing is like, I'd probably ask him, probably like maybe in just simple terms, who would he prefer the most? Raiders or the Chargers? Seriously. I've already seen he follows me on Twitter, and I already see it through one of his profiles that he still has the Chargers thing on his profile. I thought it was great. And yes, we will definitely keep everybody updated and so much more. Absolutely. No problem. But yeah, that's probably what I would do. There's not really much to really ask Darius Philon. I've seen his years on the Chargers and then on the Cardinals before coming to the Raiders. And it's all such good stuff. But I don't know. I probably would still be thinking about that, but that's the only thing that can come to mind. All right. So NFL division predictions. It's been really, really fun and good so far. And I've been loving every bit of it. I think this is going to be an interesting one this year. And I just truly think that this division is going to go through a lot of different adjustments. And you think about the Super Bowl champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's talking about staying consistent and not going and reverting back to the losing culture ways. You got the Atlanta Falcons, who have Kyle Pitts, who's turning into one of the best transformative tight ends in this league, and is a guy that's going to be very impactful. The Carolina Panthers got Sam Darnold, and I think under Matt Rule's system, I think he's going to adjust really well. I really do think that he's going to have a very good rebounding year in his career. And I do think that maybe Carolina might potentially be a threat to get into the playoffs. And then you have the New Orleans Saints. I truly do think that they should go with Jameis Winston, because I'd like to see what he can do under Sean Payton, because I know what I'm getting out of Taysom Hill, but at the same time, I just feel like Taysom Hill somewhere down the stretch is going to be predictable. That's just my opinion. And so if that's the case, it could go either way. But I truly do think that this division, it's going to be very interesting. And I do think is going to take a lot of different twists and turns. So, all right. So our NFL division prediction, and we are in the NFC South. So here we go, folks. All right, so number 4, I've got the Atlanta Falcons. The only thing that really kind of concerns me about the Falcons mostly is because now they're without Julio Jones. Now they do have Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, and Kyle Pitts. That's the one thing that you could say is a good positive upside for Matt Ryan. But the other question about it, it's a rebuilding defense. It's one that, I'm not entirely sure how this team is going to really shape itself, because this is second year AJ Terrell. This is, you got Deion Jones and a couple of other good pieces. You're without Keanu Neal. You're without a couple of impactful players. So I feel like that this defense Could be an absolute liability to Matt Ryan, but the Falcons, I'm sure this is going to be interesting on Arthur Smith. And I truly think, and how he done everything in Tennessee, his favorite position that he loved transforming was tight end. So I think having Kyle Pitts as a guy that's a beacon, I think really, really focuses on what Atlanta's future might be. But I think they'll finish up fourth, but I don't think that they're going to be there for long. We'll see exactly what may happen in the near future. Number 3, the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are definitely taking a step back this year. They need to get themselves within the threshold of, financially, especially when you got the NFL cap hit. They were not going to be able to keep a lot of players. Drew Brees is retired now. And all you have is Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. It's kind of a big time battle between the two of them, because under Sean Payton's system, the question is, though, too, what's up with this Michael Thomas situation? Hurt, trade, all this other stuff. There's a lot of things that are just growing and brewing for for this organization. And the Saints, to me, I feel like are going to take a step back, because I just think there's so much stirring in the pot right now that after Breeze retiring, it's a different change. It's a different focus. But I do think Jameis should at the very least have the starting role. I want to see exactly how he shapes up with Sean Payton and how this will work out in the middle of it. What's going on, Dime Mike? What's going on? Number 2, the Carolina Panthers. Now, people are going to say I'm crazy about this, but listen and hear me out for a second. You've got J.C. Horn and Jeremy Chin in that backfield. I mean, that's going to be one that's going to be complete shutdown, because what is the one thing this division does? They don't run a whole lot. They like to pass. You see Tom Brady pass the ball to Scotty Miller, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski, a lot of players. And then you saw Drew Brees, now he's retired, throw to Michael Thomas and a bunch of other different receivers. And then screen plays for Alvin Kamara. And Matt Ryan formerly used to throw to Julio Jones, and now he's got Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, and Kyle Pitts. Carolina is very interesting on how they're reshaping and rebuilding themselves. But I do think this is a better situation and scenario for them, because you're getting Sam Darnold, that I truly think is really good. So I think, in all honesty, with how Matt Rule's system is, and by the way, the owner's a very competent owner. He's a guy that has no time to wait. Very impatient, wants to win now. And I do think they do have good pieces. DJ Moore, they lost Curtis Samuel. He was a big time wide receiver, but they did make it up with Robbie Anderson, and you got Christian McCaffrey, who's going to be healthy. So there are a couple positives for this Carolina Panthers team, but I do think that they'll finish up second in this division. I just really, really do see that this offensive line can work with Sam Darnold, and I do think that he'll have opportunities of really making the team better. And then finally, number 1, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I can't stress this enough. This is a team that's bringing everybody back. Now, the question is about the consistency. We know that this was a losing culture before Tom arrived. But you think of after winning a Super Bowl, you think about just everything all in between. I mean, the organization, we know their culture. We know exactly a lot of their hardships that they have been through. But at the same time, it's not that easy to go back to back. It's a solid squad. They bring all 23 of their starters back, everybody on that roster, and they want to run this thing back again. Not that easy, but it's going to be a fun challenge for them. Tom's going to play until Tom is ready to be done. That's really all that it looks forward to. But Tampa, they've officially gotten on the map. They've won their second Super Bowl title in history. And I just think, with how that they've overcame a lot of things. I just think Tampa Bay would be the strong team to win this division again. Carolina's creeping up right behind them. So let's just see how things really do pan out. I'm excited to see what this year brings in this division. But that's my honesty with every single one of them from 1 through 4. So Atlanta finishing 4th, New Orleans finishing 3rd, Carolina in 2nd, and Tampa Bay in 1st. I just truly think that New Orleans is just going to have a step back because it's a different look. I mean, you can't really say a whole lot about it. It's a completely different look. I think it's one we're not completely used to, but you're dealing with Matt Ryan in Atlanta, and you know that there's some questions about the defense. New Orleans questions about the quarterback. Carolina is all about, where they sit at as far as revamping the team. Sam Darnold arrives, and then, will they win more games than not? And then Tampa Bay, can they stay consistent? So that's kind of just been the storyline of this division. But I do think it's a good one. I do think that it's kind of changing very differently, but it'll be a lot of fun in the near future. So, all righty, guys, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. I appreciate it. And we will see you guys Wednesday night at 7 for another episode of the Snake Sports Talk Show. Have a great night. Be safe, and we'll see you later.